Hi, I'm Sam Aronow, and this is another edition of Jewish History on the Plate. As you're watching this, I believe it is the last night before Pesach, Passover. So first, I'm going to show you my personal recipe for matzo ball soup, and then we're going to try it out and have a little conversation about the origins of Passover. So if you've ever had matzo ball soup, you've probably had something that was made from ready-made matzah meal. And is very dense. Now, I did not get matzah meal because growing up, I lived in a town with 2,000 Jews, and the Jewish neighborhood was 4 houses. So, what I do, ever since I've been an adult, is take my own matzah and grind it. So you don't get this really smooth, dense thing. You're going to get something that's lighter and smaller and more of it, but it's also going to have a little more bounce to it. You'll see when it's done. So after grinding the matzah, you put it into a bowl with some water in it. It doesn't matter how much, just however much you need to soak it. So just soak it in the water until it's soft, which should be pretty fast. Okay, so you're now going to want 2 large eggs, but you want to separate the yolk and the white. They will both be added in, but you want to separate them at first. All right, so once you've separated the egg white from the yolk, you're going to want to take the bowl with the yolk and then add in salt and pepper to taste. Doesn't matter how much, there's not a specified amount, which annoys me quite a bit. This is actually adapting from an earlier recipe, but it's not the same. Okay, here's the part that's going to be challenging if you're in Israel. You want cayenne pepper. You want a tablespoon of cayenne pepper for this. There's only one store in Tel Aviv, and as far as I know in all of Israel, it's likely that even knew what cayenne pepper was.
יש לך פלפל קיים? בסדר.
It's not something people have here. In my neighborhood, people had never heard of it before. Just throw that in. We take this, we beat it. And then we add this in, and that's when we start adding in the matzo balls.
Almost there.
You want to fold this in. This should have soaked up all the water. It has in this particular case. This is where it gets a little messy. So, what you want to do is roll these into this ball. This one might be a little big. You want them the size of walnuts, and you just plop them into this simmering salted water. It will float eventually. They all float eventually. Alright, that's all. That's all we need.
You don't want to do a couple more?
Nah, it's all spontaneous. It's real. Now that they're finally ready, get them out like so. Should get rid of the water. Alright, now for the soup part. Now, excuse me, getting chicken stock in Israel is impossible. No liquid soup. You just end up with this like powdered osam shit, and it is not the same. Last time I ate that, I got food poisoning. So my host, Og, has been very generous, and his wife, Lynn, to put together a chicken stock right here tonight. That we've got parsley, onions, carrots, celery, and I've already had it and it's tasted really good. So let's make it happen.
Beautiful.
All right, so with me today is Gaon level patron Or Weiss.
Hi everyone.
Who just happens to live near me. Nobody else I knew was willing to appear on camera in the area, spoke good enough English, and also was not celiac or vegan. So Og was very generous to let me borrow his apartment and himself. We are starting with a Midbar Syrah. For Pesach, you usually bring a sweeter wine, and I've kind of grown an affinity for Negev wines, actually, even though it seems not like the most natural wine region. Is that enough?
Yeah, that's more than enough.
I don't know. I see the size of the glass and I want to fill it. I didn't learn these things.
It's a good approach to it, I guess.
Maybe you should put this off to the side.
You can put it on the
Yes.
L'chaim.
L'chaim. Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach, Sam. Not bad.
Yeah. So there's the taste test. Here's the stock. This is very nearly like what my bubby made.
Which is impressive because we didn't have any recipe, so
Yeah. If not for the parsley, I think it was a little. I think she let it go a lot longer. Like she would let it go for like days.
yeah, we can still do.
And I don't think
The
she had
rest of
parsley. And now the matzo ball. There it is. You don't taste the cayenne pepper until it's gone all the way down.
Oh wow.
That's the secret. That's the secret. And that's my recipe.
I've had a lot of matzo balls, I haven't had a spicy one yet. That's the first.
I have not encountered much. It's all home cooking, and what you eat at home in Israel is completely different from what you eat in restaurants. That's something I've learned the hard way. I will be very happy when the Dizengoff Food Fair is back.
Yeah, things are opening back up, so.
For those who don't know, in the Dizengoff Mall in Tel Aviv, there's like every Thursday and Friday all these people and restaurants and stuff bring out these stands of food that you would only have access to if someone made it for you at their house, basically.
Yeah. There's actually a service you can try called Yummy, where you can get personal people's cooking that you can order in.
Oh wow.
So it's kind of like Uber Eats, but from.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if maybe you should get a sponsorship now from those guys.
So, I thought it would be interesting to discuss the origins of Passover, which we don't really think about. But like I've said in my videos, and even though it's angered some people, the distinction between Israelites and Canaanites didn't really historically exist. That was a later idea. Jews are a Canaanite people. We speak a Canaanite language, same as the Carthaginians.
Mm-hmm.
And all the original 5 Jewish holidays, the 3 festivals, including Pesach and the High Holy Days, all are dated by agricultural cycles. So Pesach is the beginning of harvests.
Mm-hmm.
This is when the barley harvest is ready. And that's very interesting. So, because Passover actually has like 3 different origins that were kind of smashed together.
Like the Exodus part and the harvest part,
Right.
like the
Well, and another
season part.
The Exodus part, I've talked about this before, as described as ahistorical. There's some thinking like, it's kind of like the Iliad, that it's this sort of cultural memory of a time when Canaan was under the occupation, not even really occupation, it was just part of the Egyptian New Kingdom.
Mm-hmm. Under the influence sphere.
So when we left Egypt was not necessarily a leaving one place and going to another, but breaking away almost. Because as the Bronze Age collapsed, the Peleshth came and the Danites came. The tribe of Dan was originally from Greece. They were Mycenaeans, so they probably fought in the Trojan War.
Oh,
and
wow.
so were the Peleshth.
So the tribe about the Peleshth or the Plishtim, that's a known fact. Like it's part of it's the most talked about in all the records of the Bronze Age collapse. But where did the tribe of Dan?
They were the
come from?
Danyan. They were kind of they were basically like the Peleshth, one of those groups that just happened to join the Kingdom of Israel.
Oh wow! So how did it kind of all meld in?
Well, this kind of comes back to the Exodus story. So what's interesting is Moses and his family are all canonically from the tribe of Levi. Now, in the Bible, Kohanim are a subset of the tribe of Levi, but that is apparently not really how it worked. They had different origins. There had always been Kohanim. The Carthaginians had Kohanim. But only Jews and Samaritans had Levites. And the funny thing is, Moses and Miriam and Aaron, those are all Egyptian names. They're all
Right.
names that are Egyptian in origin. And the Levites had their own cities. One of them is actually right by here, Tel Grissa. It was called Gat Rimon in its own time. It's right in the park. And that was a Levite city. But all of the Levite cities in the Bronze Age were Egyptian fortresses. So the thinking might be that the Levites were originally the descendants of Egyptian soldiers who were left behind in the Bronze Age collapse.
Oh wow.
Yeah. This is all really speculative. Like, the written record we have is like deliberately obscuring it.
Is there any like points that reference to that, or kind of give that claim more basis? Obviously, it's not as established as other things, but
It's something that kind of has been worked on for the past several decades. And that kind of leads me into the second one, which is, yeah, this is an agricultural holiday. The Feast of the Unleavened Bread is an agricultural holiday. But Passover, the painting of the blood, that was a different holiday. The Festival of Unleavened Bread, before monotheism, before Josiah, people would go to the high places. They'd go to places like Arad or Bet Horon, and they would do Passover, basically, and they would bring their unleavened barley and just let it sort of dry out and eat it. But Passover was a holiday that people would perform basically in their own homes with their families alone. And they would basically eat raw meat. That's the thinking. They would take the lamb and they would sacrifice it and they would eat it raw with the blood and the marrow.
though that's something that is like in modern Judaism, something that's, let's say, frowned upon.
Yes, because it seems like all of this just kind of came together under King Josiah. And King Josiah, of course, was he who kind of made Judaism into monotheistic religion.
Like with discovering the books.
He got the Book of Deuteronomy. The other books were mostly probably from earlier stories, but were written down later. Deuteronomy was the first book of the Torah to actually be written down.
And did he actually find any books? Like in
The thinking is that Chidkiyahu probably commissioned them, because he was regent over Josiah when he became king at a very young age, and I'm doing the Middle Ages, so one thing that keeps coming over and over is the investiture controversy, the circular power division between the Holy Roman Emperor and the Pope, until they become like enemies, bitter enemies. The next video is going to be involve Frederick the Antichrist, who conquered Jerusalem without any fighting. He just negotiated Jerusalem back to the Crusaders, and for this the Pope excommunicated him twice and declared him the Antichrist.
Because he didn't fight, just for that?
No, because he was already excommunicated, because he was not only the Holy Roman Emperor, but also the King of Sicily.
Oh, I see.
And that meant that the Papal States were surrounded. And if you're surrounded, you're not going to be a big player, you're going to be Lesotho.
So we're kind of jumping between topics. So you started with the 3 holidays or the 3 topics that come.
Right. Passover is, so because it's the first harvest holiday, it's one of the New Years. So you have the actual like calendar New Year, Rosh Hashanah, which actually, it's not the end of the harvest. Yom Kippur is the last harvest. That commemorates the end of the wine harvest, which I believe began with Tu B'Av. I don't remember what Rosh Hashanah is. I don't remember everything. But the person who kind of figured out how all of this got put together, and it would have all been around the time of Josiah, is I believe, a professor in Australia. I'm trying to remember her name. I wrote it down before I came here so I would remember it. Tamara Prosek.
And what did she say?
She kind of recapped all of the studies on this. Now it kind of went through this period where people thought the Israelites were nomadic.
You were talking about the Shir Dvorah and the Jews not being mentioned.
The Shomronim.
And the Shomronim, right?
The thing is, the Samaritans,
are they mentioned?
they're the Israelites. All the tribes of the north, that's the Israelites, so those are the Shomronim. But the thing is, Samaritanism, as we know it, yes, they had the temple at Mount Gerizim. That was probably the original temple of El. What happens is, and this happened a lot in Egypt, where you would combine gods. So basically, the Jews combined their local god with El Elyon.
Synchronism.
Yeah, and like you would with Amun-Ra, or Ra-Horakti, like when you would combine Ra and Horus and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that caused the Jews to sort of centralize, and that kind of culminated under Josiah. But Samaritanism, as we know today, it was mostly influenced by Judaism. They split, and the Israelite religion remained pagan. But then, after Israel was conquered, it became much more Jewish influence. So they were almost the same religion, which is pretty interesting.
So when did the influence start to propagate into the Samaritan classes?
When Israel was conquered by the Assyrians, with help from Judea, a lot of Israelites came south to Judea.
See, so after the fall of the kingdom of Israel,
Yeah.
then so the power with the kingdom of Judea remaining,
Yeah.
its power started to affect.
So
the
they
remaining
split off.
tribes.
It's almost like they split off and then merged, and then around the end of the Babylonian period, split off again.
So that's why there are still some similarities. It's not
Mhm.
that different. Though it is several thousands of years since the last split.
That's true, but geographically, like they're smaller in number.
Right.
We've been in close proximity since. There's a lot of good record keeping. I mean, we live in a world that's dominated by Islam and Christianity, so people wouldn't forget what the Bible was, so it has persisted.
Interesting.
Anyway, I think that's it. That was much shorter than I thought it would be. See you next time for Jewish History on the Plate. I have no idea what it'll be about. See ya. Bye.
Bye. Chag Sameach.